abstain from what? It's a touchy subject no matter what. Because where my head is at is, what about just doing less of whatever it is? Well, what about it? It doesn't work. It never works. It hasn't worked for a lifetime. I have proof. I've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to do less. Aloha. Alex here with Aloha Speaks once again. And today's topic is abstain or not. The parentheses has three things. The first being the word first. Because it becomes, and I want to clarify, this is, as always, from my experience. I can get feedback from other people that others can relate. It's like, is it having an addictive personality? I don't get that it has anything to do with personality. It's something physical. There's a physical thing that happens. I mean, I could get, you could get into medical terminology. I don't go there. But the word first, it's the first thing for me that needs to be addressed before going forward with other aspects of this addictive tendency in so many ways. Because on one level it can be, alcoholism shows up in so many ways. The second thing is, there's these quotes, cannot versus will not. Now, that applies to a phrase that we'll get to. Then, the third thing is the word lies. Lies always are at the bottom of this subject. Okay, now, we start off with abstain from what? It's a touchy subject no matter what. Because where my head is at is, what about just doing less of whatever it is? Well, what about it? It doesn't work. It never works. It hasn't worked for a lifetime. I have proof. I've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to do less. But the first point is abstain from what? What am I talking about here? What am I abstaining from? Or what am I considering abstaining from? Should I abstain or not? So, I've listed a few things, like, for example, sugar. Should I abstain from it or not? Well, it's the first thing. First, abstain before I can find out. It's like I cannot find out what the results. I was using the word consequences earlier in a discussion. It's like there's consequences one way or the other. I eat the sugar. Once the sugar starts coming in, there's something physical in me, I'm just talking about myself here, that happens. That starts the ball rolling. If the sugar doesn't go in at all, and then I don't put the sugar in, it's a different story. There's not the impulse to keep putting it in. So what if I just don't put it in? Then it's called abstaining. The word abstain is such resistance to that. What do you mean abstain? But I have other things, like there's other foods. I'm not going to get into it, but there are other foods that don't work for me. What about abstaining from them? What about just not putting them in? Because once I put them in, I've talked about them before, like chips. Once I start, I just won't stop. Okay. I don't want to get hung up on any one, well, I will a little later here, but they eat, and I talked about alcohol, right? What about abstaining? I won't find out until the issue is abstain for, if I do abstain, for how long? The point is abstain, like stop doing it. It's a lifetime change. Like just stop. Or not. Do I? Or not? Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to begin happening down the line until that happens first. That's up to me. Then I have, what about this certain type of relationship? Whatever type of relationship that doesn't work for me. Do I abstain from it or not? Interesting. And then just don't do it. Don't do that. And stop. Well, for how long? It's about the consequences. The consequences are disastrous. Gambling, right? It doesn't work for me. Maybe for someone else it does. For me. Abstain. Stop. I have this word, sex. Then right after that I have drugs, right? Stop. Abstain, abstain, abstain. This word, sex. What? It's like, oh, but I need sex. I found out I don't need sex. I made a decision when going into recovery, they say, go 1 year. Go 1 year. No sexual involvement with anyone other than yourself. They say, whatever. The point is, 1 year. It worked so well for me. I chose to go 2 years. That worked so well. That was over 13 years ago. I only have, now I had already been celibate over 6 months. I only have like almost 12 and a half months clean and sober. I have 13 years of celibacy now at this point. Why? Because it works. There have been times in my life that I've been right there in a relationship, and it's like, yes, we're ready. And the clothes went flying, and it was like, yeah, and it's like, I would stop and I go, now wait, because we're adults here, the hormones are in control, since this is important, let's chill, and when the hormones calm down, let's go ahead and put our clothes back on, and then let's actually talk about where we're coming from here, introducing this after this much time in our relationship, and find out where we're coming from to introduce this in our relationship. And then after talking about it, finding out we weren't on the same page about how that was going to be interpreted. So we didn't move forward. We're still friends, Still intimate. Intimacy has nothing to do with sex. Come to find out. Whoa. Learning. Growing. This Peaceful Warrior book with Dan Millman way back when I was young in the 20s, and it wasn't that, I mean, he's writing the story, and in there's the young man, and he's in his 20s, and he goes, celibacy. I'm reading it in my 20s, and I'm going, that's ridiculous. I would never, I said the word never. It's like, never say never. I'm only talking about myself here. This aspect of abstaining, the value of it cannot be discovered, I'm not saying it's for everyone. I have addictive tendencies that don't work when I follow through with allowing these things to control, and then take the negative consequences. I learn this, know this, I am honest with myself. That's not putting myself up on a pedestal. That's just like learning and growing. So in the Dr. Silkworth section of the AA book, in the doctor's opinion, way in the beginning, it says, they cannot, us, the alcoholics, so this me, I cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. This is the lies I'm talking about. This whole issue with not differentiating the true from the false, this is what's behind all of this stuff. It's a slippery slope. And in that it says they cannot, and it finally hit me, cannot or will not, because I don't want to differentiate the true from the false. I'm attached to the lie that the abstinence is not for me. That the abstinence will not work for me. I haven't done it. I won't do it. It's like, no. It's only after I do the abstinence that I can be clear about anything, about what is the lie, or what are the lies. Prior to the abstinence, that issue of trust, out the door. After the abstinence, clarity. It's up to me. Interesting that I need to ask for help. That is the key. On a deep, deep level, it's a beautiful thing. Aloha.
Welcome to Aloha Speaks, home of Malama Aloha Pono by Alexander Noman.